This week, I have had a major light bulb tsunami of moments. And it's really sort of a perfect storm of the same subject coming up multiple times and realizing, okay, this needs to be the focus of light bulb moments because it keeps coming up. And and this is really going to be part of the conversation I'm going to have with Tina today, is an area that I spend a great deal of my time, particularly over about a 5-year period, with a subspecialty in the work that we do, and I personally do, into transition planning. And ultimately, I worked with about 50 companies over a 5-year period, and it certainly enriched me with a lot of data, information, things to do, not to do. Ultimately, I got to the point where I sort of retired that practice just because it's something I could have done full time. And ultimately, we had other businesses to run. Having said that, we have a tsunami coming and it hasn't gone away. And it's even more prevalent than it was 5 years ago. And that tsunami is a wave of small businesses becoming ready for transition to new ownership, because the 2/3 of small businesses, and we have data to suggest that this is similar in the beauty industry too, are owned by baby boomers. And not all baby boomers are going to want to be owning and operating salons deep into their later years. Meanwhile, you have this emergence of very young, motivated, entrepreneurial folks, some of them within your salon, some of them not, some of them from outside the industry, which is another impetus to why today. But anyway, we are in a situation where we can help facilitate some perfect marriages, marriages between two generations, a generation that wants to either gradually or relatively suddenly. It doesn't happen suddenly. That's the first thing I need to say. You don't suddenly just transition out of your business. But anyway, so let me go a little deeper into this. And here's the other reason why I wanted to talk about this. Yesterday, there was a significant rule change with the Small Business Administration. All right. And I sat in on about an hour-and-a-half seminar on it yesterday. I've done a little study around it. And essentially what it does, they're making broad changes to their flagship 7A program, including rules to facilitate business sales and ownership changes. The short version of this, it's a lot more doable to get funding to buy a business, which means if you're a seller, it's easier for a key employee or someone else to buy your salon over a period of time whenever you're ready. So anyway, we are going to be talking about this quite a bit more, and I'm going to be inviting a subject matter expert. And we do have a little bit of announcement around this today. We have been planning, and enrollment is open for our second exit workshop. We haven't done one in 4 years, and we're not going to do one all the time. But in Atlanta, Georgia, on October 22nd, we're going to have, it's a little over a half-day program that is going to be specifically about transition planning, appropriate for current owners and spouses and partners, as well as potential future owners. Preferent enrollment will fill on this. There's a few more details on this. We're going to be asking certain questions that to ask before planning your business exit. A lot of businesses don't transition to the next generation, which is a very sad thing. And being proactive is key. So what we'll be covering in this workshop is, do you want to grow or go? Have you determined your readiness? What do you think your business is worth? What are you selling? Who you sell to? If you sell to key employees, how to structure. I'm going to come back to that one with Tina in a minute. And do you need an intermediary? The other interesting thing is there was a data point that I kind of forgot about from the compensation study that sort of got buried in there. I just didn't see the relevance of it, but I do now know now, is that these are the participants in the compensation study we did last year. Look how the ownership level is so dominated to 16 plus years, and how many have 31 and 31 plus years? So doing a little math, it's showing that there's a lot of businesses that have mature ownership. And I don't know, what sings to the ear of a current ownership is to have some way to monetize your life's work and to be paid for it, and to celebrate your legacy by inviting someone else to be an owner. Now, before I get to Tina, I got one other point on this. The other reason why this topic came up is I got a call. I was in this email chain over the last couple of weeks, and I was kind of tied up. And it was by a respected partner and friend in the industry, and I couldn't really figure out, but it had to do with due diligence and buying a salon. But it wasn't until I really read the email, had a little bit of time to digest it, and talked to a gentleman who is in the process of purchasing a salon, and he's from outside the industry. And it's kind of good new blood, judging by the character of this person and his wife. Anyway, it's a deeper dive on that. But anyway, without any further ado, Tina, let's have you come to the mic and the camera. Good morning.
Good morning. It's afternoon, I think. For me, it's almost afternoon.
Oh,
When you're up at 5 a.m., right? It's 11 o'clock is afternoon.
And you're a Michigan, Florida person.
I am. When you live in Michigan, you can't be here full time. You gotta get to the warmth. So most Michiganders are Floridians too. The smart ones.
Very, very nice. So you have let me just kind of go through some of your bio. You're in the business of changing lives, is your quote. You own 5 schools and 4 salons and growing. Now, I got to tell you right there, I used the word yesterday, daunting. That sounds a little daunting to me. We're going to come back to that. You've also written books. You've also spoke. You coach. You're a certified DISC personality trainer and consultant. So you spread your wings in other areas outside being an owner of schools and salons. Your schools have been recognized for facilities, leadership, culture, and other awards. And you rank amongst the top 10 in fundraising with Win Claybaugh's program, which is super exciting. And you believe people before profit, and you're in the business of changing lives. What a great person to be talking to today. For all of our listeners, that's quite a little bit of a bio. So we don't know each other very well, and we've become acquainted over the last year. Your school are actually customers of our Money EDU. Thank you for that. But you're a bit of a dynamo, and you make some stuff happen. So my first question to you is, I can imagine that owning and operating a salon or a school could be a lot of work. I can imagine and have experienced owning multiple location salons and is a lot of work. And I can also imagine that having 5 schools is a lot of work, but you're doing it all. How do you do it?
Hey, I have an incredible husband. I've been married for 37 years. There's no way I would be doing this without him, for sure. Thank God he retired from the law practice a couple of years ago. So he's been on board helping me with so many of these projects that I'm doing. And he's also, I always say, he's not only the guy that can help write your contracts, but he's also the guy that can fix the toilets. This guy can do anything. So if I didn't have him, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm in business with my daughter. I love doing business with family. I couldn't even imagine. And then I have an incredible partners that I've brought into our companies. And I know how to find good people, Tom. That's the only reason why I can do this, because I actually got myself out of a job many years ago. I decided, I think it was the 3rd location that I opened. And I said, you know what, there's no way I can be in 3 places at one time. So I'm going to have to give up being in my business, right? And I loved being, a theory leader. I love teaching theory, believe it or not. I actually taught theory in my cosmetology schools, loved it, loved teaching business, loved teaching. I just loved teaching, and I didn't want to walk away from that because I loved it so much, which reminds me of hairdressers that own salons, right? That are like, I don't want to not do hair. And so that's when I created the system that we have now. because of that.
Have a husband that does law, helps you run a business and fix toilets. May I say you married well, as he did too, because you're a special person. And I see that you put a lot of heart in what you do here too, but I still want to go back to the mechanics of this. So you have your husband, you have other family members, so you jointly run these businesses, and you talked about partners. I want to save that one into its own deep dive in a moment. What else do you have for someone that's out there, maybe has two location salon, or three, or two or three schools? I mean, dig a little deeper into this. What don't you do?
What don't I do? I don't do a lot of hobbies. I don't golf like I used to. Although I'm very, very blessed. I honestly, I don't know how to do a lot of things in my company. I do know how to find people that know how to do things. I do know a little bit about everything, but not a lot of it about everything, if you will. So if I do lose a team member, I'm always thinking, okay, who's on the bench? Who are we going to put into this, position? I'm always thinking, because you can always lose somebody, right? And so I feel like the more locations that I own, to be honest with you, the easier it gets. And that's why when I always talk to salon owners, salon leaders that have one or two locations, I try to train them to actually scale even further, and using our model if they so desire to use our model. So that's what I normally do, because I do notice that the word you use daunting is overwhelmed, that they're super overwhelmed. Whereas I feel like the more locations I have, the less overwhelmed that I get, which is interesting.
I had a period in my career where I ran a 8-location salon company, and 7 locations in Minnesota, 1 in California. And I do understand what you're talking about here. Once you get to a certain number of locations and you get the infrastructure and systems in place,
right,
it actually becomes more fun, and you're able to focus a little bit more on your unique ability. Would you agree with that?
1000%. And like I said, if you have one location, you almost have to be the chief everything officer, because you can't afford anybody. You can't afford an assistant. So the more locations you have, the more money you have that you can loosen up to hire better people on your team, people who have like a higher level of leadership skills too, that have more drive. They're going to want to be a part of your company as well too. The smaller you are, the smaller minded people, if you will, but the larger you get and the bigger vision, if you're a big vision leader, now you're starting to attract a whole different type of person. And that's what I've noticed in my companies, Tom, is I've been able to attract a higher level person that, quite frankly, I was like, I better make them my partner or I'm going to lose them. And that's what I did.
All right. I'm still saving the whole partner conversation a little bit here, and
leave them hanging.
Yeah, leave them hanging here a little bit. And the functions of the business, which of the following are you? And so if we really look at the lens of a small business under the five different functions. And so just make a mental note when I do this list where you spend the most time. Number 1 is finance.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is the operations. Number 3 is education. 4 is human capital. And 5 is marketing. Finance, operations, education, human capital, and marketing. Where do you spend your time?
To be honest with you, I'm a little bit in all of these areas. So it depends on if you're talking the schools or the salons. If you're talking strictly salons at this moment, I would probably say the finances are the top, but also, and if you're talking about human capital, I'm assuming you're meaning leadership training, leadership skills.
It's the people part of recruitment, everything.
All that. Yeah.
Everything except for like
finances and people before profit, but the profit always shows if I'm spending enough time with the people and on the leadership training. and going back to, okay, if I'm not hitting profit, if I'm not hitting numbers, I need to focus on systems. So that's what we're backing up right now, because we're not hitting retail and rebooking percentages that I want to be at. And so if we're not hitting that, then it's like, okay, what systems do we need to shift and change? So we're actually working on that right now as we speak.
And now for the school company, where would you spend most of your time?
All leadership, I would say human capital, as you mentioned, all leadership training. I just did a class for all of my school teams. I'm very blessed. I've had one of our partners that we brought on that was actually, he was a student in my school, became my assistant, worked himself up since 2009, and now is our partner in 3 of our locations, Sean Chido. So he's our CEO. So he pretty much handles all the financials. However, I jump in with him with inspection, especially when we're not hitting numbers. And it's like, okay, why aren't we hitting numbers? How can I help? What do I need to shift and make different? And so as we speak, we're working on a whole new scorecard system for us so that we can present that to our leaders, a bonus system, if you will, as well, that we're working on that structure too in our company.
So when you and I had a conversation, you talked about your grandchildren was the very first thing that came up in the conversation. And so tell me, how many hours do you work on average per week?
Oh boy. Now, if you were talking to my husband, he would think that I work 80 hours a week. However, in my mind, I feel like I work maybe 10 to 20 hours a week. So it depends on what it is. Now, is your mind ever shut off with your business? Mine's not. I'm always thinking about what can we do to improve. I'm watching my grandchildren learning a leadership lesson from them that I could share with my team, right? It's always about the business too, because they're my baby. That my business is my baby. It's my ministry. It's everything, because I'm always thinking about my team. How can I help them? How can I help them to grow? Thinking of every single person, especially the leaders that I'm responsible for, thinking, what am I missing with them? What can I do to help them reach their goals? It's always on my mind, Tom. You never get rid of it, but I love every minute of it.
I love it. You're very, your energy and your positivity and all of that's very contagious, if I may say.
Thank you. Leadership really is a sacred responsibility, and we all have to, as leaders, we have to take that posture on, because we have this incredible responsibility to help change people's lives, to transform their lives. I don't take it lightly, Tom, when I am a person that gets to help them buy their first house, to help them to find the perfect mate for them, to have children. We just had one of our partners just had a baby, and I'm just so happy for her that she's going to start her family, and I get to be a part of that. I don't take that lightly. They become your family, right? Whether they're with you or not. I was just talking to a team member that left us a few years ago, and I was just private messaging her and just wondering how she's doing. I'm always wondering how my people are doing, whether they're with our team or with not. I want them to make sure they go to the next level if they're not even with our team as well too. And what can I do to help that?
Very nice. Let's get into the whole partnering. Okay. And so you have schools and you have salons. Do you have any partners in the schools?
So yes, Sean is our partner in the school. So we're a franchise with our schools. And
Yep.
so we are partnered with Win Clayball, John Paul DeJoria in 4 of our 5 locations. The other location, I'm partners with the Maley's Group, they're distributors. And so we're partnered there. So in Michigan and Florida. And then Sean, we just recently brought him on as a partner. And again, I'm always thinking career path for every single person, Tom. I always know, like, what's your personal, professional, and financial goal? I'm always asking them that, because I always want to see their dream boards. And Sean was one of those that had said for many years he wanted to own a school someday. And so in my head, I'm thinking, how can I make him my partner someday in this? And we were able to make that happen a few years ago. And so he's also a partner in one of our salon locations as well too. And as I mentioned earlier, he's the CEO. So he's he's the numbers guy. He keeps a super close eye on all the operations and the financial systems in each of our locations.
Let's go through the salon right now, because that's different. That's really where you have done something. I've seen it before, and it's really creating partnership opportunities for key employees. I've seen it before, and I'm a big advocate of it. And I'm also a very big advocate of doing it right or don't doing it at all, you know? So what's super interesting to me is kind of take us through you bringing in or offering partnering opportunities for a member of your team, and a little bit about the structure. And for the rest of you today, a little bit of a spoiler alert. I have asked Tina or Sean, Tina, excuse me, what's your husband's name?
And Brian Black, yep.
Brian, okay.
Yeah.
Tina, Sean, or Brian to be part of our October exit workshop to go deeper into this. Today is just a quick conversation about it and just a big outline. So spoiler alert, Tina's still checking. We invited him. We need to give her a couple days here, whatever, but we're very optimistic, Tina, that you, Sean, or Brian can join us so we can unpack this in more depth in a forum that really goes deep. But let's summarize it here.
Yeah.
Summarize your partner situation.
Yeah, bottom line is we had decided, being a school owner, I've noticed this as well, but also being a salon coach, I've noticed that, and we've all noticed this throughout the country, most people, I would say majority of my students want to be entrepreneurs. And there was a day, Tom, when I would interview my students and say, what do you want to do with this industry? And they just wanted to be a stylist behind the chair. They never said, oh, I want to own my own salon. Well, now we're raising up this next generation of future entrepreneurs. And so I would have to say 9 out of 10 literally raise their hands to tell me they either want to own their own salon suite or own their own business, right? And so in my head, I thought, you know what? I need to be a part of the solution and not the problem. So A, I'm going to lead by example. B, I'm going to train salons how to do this thought process, to do this new business plan, which I think goes along with what you were talking about earlier of, your retirement plan, if you will, although I'm never going to retire. So that's just silly. But I think you have to also think about how can I multiply myself? And so that's what I started to do. I started to think about, okay, who do I want to partner with? So we don't hire employees, Tom, we hire future partners. So every single person that we bring into our company, I have in the back of my head, I would partner with them because I really like them, A. B, I think they have a good, sense of possible business, right? And also they have the drive and the passion and someone that maybe I would go on vacation with, right? And so in my head, these are the type of people that I'm interviewing to start with. And so for us, it's a part of a career path. Now, is some of the team members on our team ever not going to be our partner? I would probably say there's going to be a few because they're not interested in that. And that's okay. We can help you to be successful behind the chair, right? But in the back of my head, I'm like, when do you want to partner? We partnered with 4 of our stylists in 4 different locations so far in 7 years. Now we have 2 to 3 other stylists about ready to go. I'll say in the next 1 to 3 years that they're ready to partner with us. And we're very excited about that. So we get very strategic with it. We prepare them. Now the first one, she wasn't prepared. She was like 19, 20 years old, maybe 20. I don't even know how old she was, Tom. Like you lose track of how old people are once you're almost 60, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. And so I'm like, I can help you to become a great leader. We'll help you to do this. We brought in a director for the salon to help run the salon so that she could be full-time behind the chair, our first partner, right? And so that's always the goal, is to partner with them. And we do the contracts. We have an employment contract. We have an operating agreement contract. So it's very strategically done. I'm blessed because my husband's a lawyer, so he helps to work that out. And we help salons to do this as well too, Tom, because I always let them know, you don't want to lose these people. I think most salons that have lost they're high-end people, it's because they didn't offer this type of partnership that they could have done with them.
Yeah, I'm very interested in vetting what you actually do and your process and what have you, as it might pertain to something outside your business. I think that you're having Brian is a huge leg up.
Mm.
Uh, because as I said earlier, you got to do this right or don't do it at all. And you know, there's distinctions between franchising and licensing, and there's different tax implications of it. It's complicated, you know. And so take us through a little bit more in your business. So you've got 4 stylists at 4 locations over 7 years. And do you bring them in? I know like Van Council does this. What he does is when he opens a new location, that's when he's open to bringing in a partner. Is that what you do? Or are they allowed to buy into an existing location?
We have had one buy into our first existing location because our first existing location we had taken over. We were partners with Ken Pavis at the time. So he's a celebrity hairstylist. And then he decided to get out of the business and gave us the salon. And so we took that over. And then one of our stylists, our top stylist there, she actually approached us and asked if she could partner with us. And so that's what we did. So we figured out the value of that salon and she bought in. So she's at a 10% ownership. My daughter's at like 39%. And then my husband and I, we always maintain the highest amount of partnership. That way we have full control over all locations.
And so in 4 locations, I mean, do you have more than one partner at any given location, or is just one partner per location?
Yeah, Sean, we brought in our Naples, Florida, as a partner, but he's a non-working stylist that's not in the salon full-time, obviously, because he's running all of our locations. And we did that in lieu of paying him his salary for 1 year, because we needed him to help us with that company. And so we gave him a percentage of that. So giving him some skin in the game. So that was the first time we brought him in as a partner before we brought him into the schools. And then we brought in another partner there, where she bought into the salon as well too. So there's 2 in that location, but only one that's there full-time running the salon.
Yeah. And now who finances their purchase?
So they actually come with cash. So
Okay.
they don't come with, I believe Sean might have utilized a family member to help him to buy in, but the rest of them, they save up the money. So, and that's always the goal. So they pay literally cash to come in.
Back to the SBA for our listeners here. And I need to do a little bit more due diligence about this. So be careful. I'm going to be careful what I say here, but if I heard things right from the SBA, is I believe the door opened also for SBA for partial funding of a business acquisition. So there is a possibility that, because not everybody has money, Tina, you know, I mean, not every, and I know of some very, very qualified buyers, key employees, and the only thing that was between them and a purchase is they didn't have access to any money. And a lot of the deals that we've seen successfully, one of the recent ones I work on was totally SBA driven, but those were more full buyouts. What you're doing is you're bringing in working partners and still maintaining control. I agree with you. I think what it does is it takes the ceiling away. It takes the ceiling of growth away. And that's really the epicenter and everybody's dream, but it's high risk. Anyway, I'm starting to do all the talking here.
And the beautiful part about this too, Tom, is what I found is stylists want to own, but they don't want all of the stuff that comes with ownership, like payroll, paying the bills, worrying about the toilet that needs to be fixed, right? The maintenance. And we all know, as I'm sure every salon owner on here is like, oh yeah, that takes up 80% of my time, right? And now they can walk in, they're responsible just to make sure to tell us when the toilet needs to be fixed, right? They don't have to worry about payroll getting done. They're in the trenches, so they help us redesign some of the systems. So they're part of being an owner without all of that stuff that nobody wants to do. And so we come with a full team of, we will take care of all the administrative stuff that no stylist wants to take care of, and you can still own and not have to worry about taxes being paid on time or bills being paid on time. And so it's a win-win situation for every single person.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And the management services, if they're rock solid, if the functions I mentioned are rock solid, finance, operations, marketing, then mostly they're there for human capital to be a working floor leader. And you also hope that they're going to lend into some of the other functions like marketing, whatever. There's another Florida-based multi-location salon company that has done similar to you. They created more of a holding company, and the holding company owned the individual units. Yours are individually owned. Each one's a separate company. Is
Yes,
that right?
it is. Yeah.
And I'm assuming you used LLCs for the flexibility and ownership. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
My goodness, it's already 10:36 and I feel like we're just getting warmed up. So I really, really want to unpack this further and dig into the weeds. And Tina, hopefully next week we can see if you're going to accept our invitation to be part of our Atlanta session. And for those of you listening in, I do want to stay on time here, but it feels like I want to ask you another question. And I guess the question is that the state of the beauty industry right now, you know, what is your level of optimism for the professional beauty industry over the next 5 years?
Well, I'm a possibilist. I'm an optimist, but more a possibilist, right? And so I always see that there's always hope. I always am. I always believe in possibilities. And to be honest with you, we are probably one of the few people within the last couple of years that have opened a brand new school. That's how much we believe in this industry. And so my husband and I, we just opened a school in Sarasota, Florida. And of course, I see the possibilities, right? And so we just keep on keeping on, Tom, because I love this so much. Like, I know I was born to do this. I've been in it for 25 years. And so we just keep on going, even though, the government regulations that is happening to us, right? I just continue to strengthen everything we're doing, the infrastructure, continue to strengthen and just continue on as is. Of course, am I thinking, okay, well, what if our schools get shut down? Okay. And so then I'm like, okay, well, we'll do this then. So we do have like, okay, we got plan B, we got plan C, all the way to Z in our minds as well too. And so always working together with other cosmetology school owners all over the country with that thought process in mind of, okay, what can we do if this happens? But I think this is the future of the industry. I really do, these partnerships. I really do, because I think we need to give stylists an opportunity here. And plus, you're getting yourself an opportunity to multiply yourself, because certainly you should. I see so many incredible salon owners, and I see them on here on this call today thinking, you need to multiply yourself, right? And it can be done. It's not that hard. It isn't. If I can do it, anybody can do it. And so I can help walk people through that as well, Tom. And I know that that's something that you want us to be able to help, with salon owners to do that.
Yeah, we're going to have some more conversations about what that looks like. And I think starting with hopefully having you join us in Atlanta. And but I want to let's pause right there. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I've got to give you the $1 million light bulb. Let's everybody give Tina a resounding virtual applause here. Give her a little shout out. Will you give her more than a hand? Give her a little shout out for your generous time today and for your wisdom. And as Christine said, very inspiring. It's very inspiring. And I love being with inspiring people. I love having inspiring guests. So thank you again. You should be getting this in the mail. It is $1 million light bulb. You gave us plenty of light bulb moments today. And Tina, thanks again. And I'm so glad to finally have you on as a guest. And we hope to be seeing you very soon.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks again. All right. So let's see here. Let me see what else I have to share here. We are on next week. And regarding this exit planning workshop that's coming up. I've got several guests I've invited that bring case studies. Hopefully Tina, Brian, or Sean will join us. And also, this is a good segue into Lightheart Sanders. Lightheart Sanders is not only helping to sponsor this workshop, October 22nd in Atlanta, but Kevin Lightheart will be joining us as a subject matter expert on the subject of tax valuations and other matters. So super excited about this workshop. We're not going to do it very often. It's going to be killer. We're going to sell out. And it is really for those that want to either jumpstart the process, get more information. And here's why it's worth it to go come to this workshop is whether you're on the buy side or the sell side, it could be the most significant financial transaction in your life. And you want to do it informed. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. This will not be a misinformation workshop. This will be built upon experience, subject matter experts. It'll be a lot of fun. It's at the Ritz in Atlanta, Georgia. And it is the day before the 2 to 10 project. So for those of you that qualify and are part of 2 to 10, this is something that's Qnity workshop. It's not 2 to 10, but you don't have to be a 2 to 10 member to enroll in this workshop. Okay, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love hearing from you. Submit light bulb moments, and we will be back on next week. I think we have another great guest, and then I am taking a couple weeks off, folks. I'm taking a road trip out east, and we're going to be doing some cool stuff. But Aaron is going to be doing a light bulb moments takeover, which you can all look forward to in my absence. It's going to be super fun. I have no idea what she's going to do, but I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. Speaking of Aaron, her Money O2 podcast, if you're not checking it out, you got to check it out. I just listened to the most recent, one of the most recent episodes, and it was by the author of a book called Tipped. And this woman has gone, she's been in 2 careers, construction, and she's been a stripper. And she talks very candidly around the business model, all the different things. It's a fascinating discussion. I don't know where Erin found her, but she's a super interesting and inspiring lady. She's channeled some of her wisdom to help other people. Her name is Barbara Sloan. I haven't met her in person, but I did buy the book. It's really interesting. So check out Erin's Money O2 podcast. I think she's got like 15 episodes right now. But anyway, it's 43 minutes after the hour. It's time to say officially goodbye. Thanks for joining us. Always appreciate seeing all of you. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you for joining us and for your precious ATM. Bye now.